We conducted the strike once our intelligence and surveillance indicated that there were no women or children inside the Hamas compound, inside those classrooms. Despite the complex operational conditions, our Air Force used precise munitions to target the 3 specific classrooms that the terrorists were hiding inside. Here are some of the terrorists who were hiding inside the UN school in Nuseirat, who we eliminated before they could carry out more attacks against Israelis. Hamas and Islamic Jihad terrorists, some from the Nukhba force, terrorists with blood on their hands. These are only a few of the terrorists we eliminated. There are more. Some of them took part in the brutal massacre of October 7th. We are working to verify the information before we will share it. This is the 5th time we have had to target Hamas and Islamic Jihad terrorists operating from inside UNRWA facilities. I want to repeat it. The 5th time we are operating against Hamas that is using UNRWA facilities. While Hamas abuses international law, the IDF will continue to operate according to international law. The systematic abuse of UN facilities is a war crime, and it must be stopped by the world.
It's warm in here today.
See, yes.
It is not as it's not the customary meat locker that I like to have it.
What's your response to that?
So we have been in contact with the government of Israel about this strike. They have said to us essentially what they have said publicly, which is that, and this is their claim, that they were targeting 20 to 30 members of Hamas and other militant groups, that they used a precision strike to target only one part of the building without hitting areas where civilians were sheltering. At the same time, we've seen the reports on the ground. We've seen the videos from the ground. We've seen the claims that 14 children were killed in this strike. And certainly when you see, if that is accurate, that 14 children were killed, those aren't terrorists. And so the government of Israel has said that they're going to release more information about this strike, including the names of those who died in it. We expect them to be fully transparent in making that information public.
Question: how does this not cross the red line that the president laid out, several weeks ago? This is the second incident in less than 2 weeks where we've seen a pretty large civilian toll on what was supposed to be a precision strike.
So with respect to the policy that the president announced, he was speaking specifically to a large-scale operation in Rafah, and we have not yet seen a large-scale operation conducted in Rafah. That said, we have seen strikes that put civilians in danger well before the president said that, and we have made clear to the government of Israel that we expect them to do everything that they can to minimize civilian harm.
Have they taken every step possible?
We have seen them take improvements over time, but still, if it bears true that this strike resulted in the death of 14 children, the results aren't where they need to be. So it gets back to this question of intent and results. Even if the intent is what the IDF has said publicly, that they were trying to use a precision strike just to target 20 to 30 militants, if you have seen 14 children die in that strike, that shows that something went wrong. That said, these are all facts that need to be verified, and that's what we want to see happen.
Specific conclusions.
Lazzarini, the Commissioner General of UNRWA, said that an UNRWA shelter was attacked today in Nuseirat, in the middle area of Gaza. It was hit overnight by Israeli forces without prior warning to the displaced people or to the UNRWA staff in the building. At least 35 people were killed and many more injured, he said. The school was sheltering some 6,000 men, women, and children who were displaced through close cooperation with the Association of Southeast Asian Nations and
Can UN confirm that that school is for shelter use for the civilians and the children?
Let's be very clear. There are no schools operating in Gaza, right? Which means that 300,000 children who were being schooled by UNRWA are out of school. And we think probably about another 200,000 in Palestinian schools are also out of school. So when we refer to an UNRWA school, I think we should really refer to a building that was once used as a school, that is just currently being used as a shelter, trying to keep people safe, when we know, as we saw just yesterday, or today, there are no safe places in Gaza.
You can confirm that it's used for shelter. It's not used for shelter for Hamas, but shelter for civilians.
It is being used by UNRWA to shelter people and provide some basic services. This is just yet another tragic, horrific, whatever word you want to use, of the price that civilians are paying in Gaza for this conflict that is continuing.
So, couple follow-up.
I speak on his behalf, right? So I can tell you, it's just another horrific example of the price that civilians are paying, that Palestinian men, women, and children who are just trying to survive, who are being forced to move around in sort of a death circle around Gaza, trying to find safety, are paying.
So will Secretary General condemn this attack?
Of course he condemns this attack.
And does he think the Israeli IDF committed a war crime?
There will need to be accountability for everything that has happened in Gaza. Our entire operations, as things stand.
بس كنت في المدرسة ونصف شوي على المطلوب وشروا على المسلح.
I was wounded at the school. The school does not have anyone who is wanted. There are no armed people in it. I was sitting next to my father. May God have mercy on him. Then I felt something on my head. Lots of blocks fell on my legs. Then I fell unconscious. All the blocks fell on my father's head. My father was martyred. This happened at 4 in the morning. I am still suffering from my leg. They stitched me, something like 10 stitches.
We
are seeing a humanitarian catastrophe on a scale that it's very hard to believe unless you see it, with many children, but also people of all ages injured, killed, disabled for life. This hospital, all the staff are doing an amazing job, but it's so difficult to care for this number of patients.